Hey everyone, welcome to this full moon Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for September 24th and 25th, 2018. All right, so full moon here this early part of the week in Pisces. If you were expecting me to say Aries, be sure to check out that link down below. We are using the actual size of the constellations, which does change the signs from mainstream astrology. All right, so full moon in Pisces. This is a time of now integrating and cultivating these qualities of life, which is essentially about accessing more receptivity, being receptive to life, being receptive to our true self, right? And so developing things like our intuition, trust, faith, and all in all, just bringing in a little bit more peace and tranquility and well-being into our life through that connection. So great to do this. Now the full moon will be conjunct Chiron, so this could be illuminating some wounds. I don't think that part of it is going to be challenging. I think there will just be some awareness of what's already there. So great time for healing. This could be physical or spiritual healing. We also have a T-square up to Saturn, so developing patience with all of this, taking things one step at a time is excellent, and a sextile up to Mars, opening up for some maybe action, assertiveness, and initiative with this full moon. All right, so let's take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. All right, so here's the chart for the full moon. So the full moon will be at 22:38 Eastern time of the Americas on the 24th. So most of us will be feeling it both days here. All right, so yeah, full moon in Pisces. This is now an illumination and cultivation of these qualities. So what's Pisces? Pisces, if you look at the constellation, it's the fishes. And so this represents us navigating, what you might say, navigating the oceans of life. This is where the aspects of ourself and of life become illuminated in the sense of helping us become aware of what we don't know and what's outside of our control and what we can be receptive with, like the fishes in the ocean, right? Feeling the current and moving where the current is taking us and using the current to take action. So this is a full moon, and it is a time of heightened energy, generally speaking, in terms of a lunar cycle. It's a very receptive sign, but still heightened time of the month. And it is usually about taking action and moving things forward, but in the Piscean fashion, through feeling the currents of life and swimming in the direction of the current, using the current to thrust forward, which is actually when we can get the most done, right? Using where the currents of life are taking us. So this is the kind of thing, right? So it's illuminating this stuff. So anything we can do to gain access to this greater receptivity of ourself is excellent during this full moon. Now we might do this a bunch of different ways. For some of us, it's creating more peace in our life. I mean, fundamentally, it is about creating more peace, but this might be through maybe rest, or tranquility, or our alone time, or accessing our creative side or imaginative side, right? And developing our intuition, right? This is, I think, also a blanket thing. It's a great time for developing that, being aware of our unconscious mind, our spiritual being, our dreams, right? Information, insight coming from receptive means, right? And all in all, having that trust and faith, because when we do surrender, right, and we are living presently and we are feeling the current and moving with the current, that does require a tremendous amount of faith and trust along the journey, right? So these are some of the things cultivating. This will be in different areas for all of us. So down below, I will put which house this is for your sidereal signs. Make sure you do watch that or check those out for your sidereal signs. This will be now the illumination and cultivation of these qualities through whatever that area is for you. All right, so along with this, I would say it's a great time to do a status check, right? Great time to do this examination of our overall life in this context. Where can we bring in more peace? Where can we bring in more receptivity? And there might be, as there often is with full moons, a bit of a shift and pivot. We might be letting some things go, shifting from one style of life into another. And the new, you could say, shift or direction will likely be with greater Pisces qualities, greater receptivity, peace, trust, intuition, acceptance, etc. All right, so let's take a look at some of these aspects that we do have with it. Now, of course, like all full moons, it is about balance and integration. We do have the Sun and Mercury in Virgo, very close to each other, so it is in opposition to Mercury as well. But this balance here is about integrating, as it always is, both the Pisces qualities but also the Virgo qualities. The Sun in Virgo in particular is showing us that right now, and we have been for likely about the past week, focused more on what can be done better, what can be refined in our life and with ourselves, right? And so we do want to balance that. Even though Pisces is about surrendering what's outside of our control, Virgo is about focusing on what is in our control, which is our own personal growth, personal development, our daily physical activities, things like our routine, diets, our service, our work, these things that ground us in the everyday, the things that do require a sort of physical routine and physical structure, right? So really good way of grounding that Pisces energy with that Virgo. And I would say just all in all, focusing on what can be embittered fundamentally with ourselves, because that is, again, what we have control over. But what can be embittered, improved, refined with ourselves and with our life perhaps. But while at the same time, surrendering, having faith, letting go. So anything we can do to integrate both of these signs, I think it's an excellent way of working with this full moon. Now the full moon is going to be in a very close conjunction up to Chiron. So there is this illumination more than likely regarding our wounds, our deeper wounds perhaps in Pisces, and maybe some wounds pertaining to our connection to this aspect of life, our willingness to be receptive, our willingness to connect to our spiritual self, to our true self, to our beingness. There's likely some wounds inhibiting us from doing this, collectively speaking. So this full moon is helping this become aware now. And so with this illumination, it's an excellent time for healing, because that's, part of healing. We have to become aware of what we're healing in order to heal. And this can really facilitate that process. Now, this can be obviously spiritual healing, like we're talking about, these spiritual kind of contexts, but also physical healing as well. All right, this can also be physical healing. And again, with that Virgo, things like our routine, diets, etc., can also facilitate and help with that. Okay, so whatever this awareness is for you personally, and again, whatever house this is for you, will likely be the area perhaps of the wounds right now, or of the inhibitions. As we go into those wounds, as we take action perhaps into the face of those wounds, as we develop this receptive energy into the face of those wounds, we'll likely feel this to be very rejuvenating and heal that particular aspect of ourself and area of our life. Okay, so really good way of doing that. And I would say the key with Chiron is acceptance. Becoming aware of the wound, which is what's this full moon's helping us with, but then accepting the wound, and then taking the actions or the steps, not even external actions. Maybe the action is more receptive, Pisces. Maybe it's detaching a bit. Maybe it's alone time. Maybe it's something like that. Meditation, right? Psychological development. All these more receptive things can be the action. But taking action in the face of those wounds can be very healing and rejuvenating with this. Very close conjunction there with Chiron. Now also important, but not as important, there is a T-square with this full moon up to Saturn in Sagittarius. You can see this T-square. So with this, I think this is a reminder that things do take time. And so with this full moon, there can be a bit of this collective feeling of restriction, maybe becoming aware of our limitations as a person, but maybe the limitations of our external reality, which Saturn often represents, the physical world, the physical limitations. And so the T-squares with Saturn are about working within those limitations and doing things that take the slow, steady, patient, persistent steps of working within those limitations, of those constructs. And any intentions we can set of building structure, building stability, building a grounded perspective of, to take this receptive spiritual energy and make use of it, ground it, do the work with it. This leads to not only structures being built in our life, but fundamentally a greater strength of character, which is what Saturn helps us develop, a greater strength of character, of connection to ourselves, to life, in this grounded, responsible, patient, disciplined, and realistic way. So excellent time for doing that work, I would say, certainly with Saturn, and working within those limitations, which we might feel collectively with the squares. All right, then even more minor to that, I would say, is there is a sextile up to Mars. In fact, coming into the full moon, Mercury will be trining Mars, more exact, with an orb. So there is definitely an opening here. And I don't think we're going to be thrusted into it like some of the other things we were just talking about. But there is certainly this opening here for some sort of action, usually with Mars. Or we're just feeling an opening to connect more to our assertive side. The side of ourself that does want to take action, does want to initiate, and even be direct and independent. This is a great opening for that sextile. So it's just an opening there. We can choose or choose not to work with it, but that Mars sort of direct, active, oriented aspect of ourself is certainly available with all of this. All right, so that is the full moon in a nutshell. Let me go ahead and pull up the transit grid for those of you who do want to see the exact times of some of these lunar aspects and such. But yeah, this is going to be the most important thing these 2 days is this full moon. And fundamentally, status check, right? How are we cultivating these qualities of Pisces in our life? And where can we further cultivate them? All right, greater receptivity, essentially. Greater connection to our true self, to the present moment, to our intuitive side, to even our unconscious. This can actually illuminate a lot of insight through dreams, meditations, but fundamentally how we can navigate the oceans of life by feeling, by intuiting, being receptive. All right. So everyone have a fantastic full moon. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you all on Tuesday for the daily forecast. Take care.